we are Archigrest. Today we are, our background is like we are architects, but together with the landscape architecture office Toposcape, we design some parks, and today we are going to talk about one of them. It's a case study of a park on the Warsaw Uprising mode. We think this is a relevant project to present here because, first of all, it touches the problem of the quality of life. We think that landscape architecture will be determining the quality of life in the cities more than architecture in the future. That's why we slightly shifted towards this direction in our practice. Secondly, it's deeply connected to the post-war reconstruction of Warsaw, and this is something that still determines the landscape of Warsaw and still inspires 70 years after. There are three things we would like to talk about in this project. We think this is a space that has been reclaimed 3 times. First, by meaning. By imposing the meaning, the former landfill started to be a place to go. Secondly, by the fourth nature, it was a landfill and that spontaneously became a forest. Thirdly, in our project, we reclaimed the post-war rubble of Warsaw into the new construction material. And we'll start with this third aspect. So, as you probably know, Warsaw was deeply destroyed during the Second World War. Here you can see a visualization of the 20 million cubic meters that has been on the Warsaw streets after the war, in the background of the Palace of Culture, the iconic building of Warsaw. Here we can see the ruins of the Warsaw Central Station and the train that has been used later to remove those debris. And here there is the photo story from '48 showing the possible 2 ways of brick from the ruins of Warsaw. It could be transported to the landfill, like by the train, as you can see on the last picture. And the middle picture, you can see that brick has been vastly recycled into new construction materials. Because rubble was perceived firstly as a major logistic problem. There were, as I mentioned, 20 million cubic meters of debris. But when the construction industry was in ruin, the engineers and architects very soon perceived debris as a source of new raw materials for the construction. This is the landfill. We've been redesigning into a park. In '78, it was still without any plants. But it contains of 855,000 cubic meters of debris and soil, which constitute more or less 4% of the Warsaw post-war debris. It has a height of 40 meters and a footprint of 80,000 square meters. And now it looks like that. The trees, the vegetation appeared spontaneously over the past 50 years. But if you dig, you will see the subsequent layers of debris and soil, which we wanted to present to the public. Warsaw was deeply ruined, and you can see this in this map. The bright points in the 4 corners of this rectangle are the landfills located symmetrically to the city center of Warsaw. The one on the right bottom corner is the landfill that we have been dealing with. Very fast, as I mentioned, the engineers started to perceive the landfill as a source of raw materials for the new constructions. Here you can see the diagram analyzing the composition of the landfill as a possible source of materials and different aggregates to new concrete. We bought the technology from from Switzerland and Sweden, as far as I know, with a knowledge transfer with Soviet Union, Eastern and Western Germany, England. We paid with coal, and soon we started the production of new construction materials, which were debris or rubble concrete blocks. In 1947, there were constructed 5 prototypical houses that still exist today. up to today. They were inhabited by the engineers who had the obligation to have diaries in which they, day by day, describe the behavior, the climatic and structural behavior of these new materials. But very soon, it developed into debris concrete baroque. This 1 year later, you already had the new building totally constructed from the debris concrete. You can see very nice classical details, like this kind of neo-Doric columns, beams, elevation made of this brick, which is also the rubble concrete. But this material was used for the reconstruction of major. It was a main reconstructing material of Warsaw, and many districts have been entirely built out of the rubble concrete blocks.
That was a short introduction of the history, and we wanted to show it to you because it's relevant for us, because we face the same problems as the architects after the Second World War, because we had a lot of rubble in our park. We wanted to keep it on our site. We didn't want to move it to the other landfill. We wanted to recreate the technology which was invented before the war, to use the concrete rubble. And this is our process, how we work with this. This is a scheme how we worked, but we're going to show it on the photos because it's better to see it on photos. The first step was to make a survey and a catalog of all the big pieces of rubble. We wanted to use a sculpture on the site. The second phase was to select all the rubble, the small ones, to select small ones and the big pieces of rubble, and then select the pieces of rubble we could reuse. This is concrete rubble, and the ones we couldn't, it's brick rubble. And this is the result. The big pieces, we made the pedestals for the pieces of nice rubble. As Maciej said, after the war, the rubble was selected, and everything could be reused, was already taken, and the buildings were built out of it. But there are some interesting pieces. For instance, you can see it's a piece of window. We made the pedestals for it because our spot is full of greenery. And it's very lavish and very intense, and during spring and summer everything's covered. So we made those pedestals to make them like ready-mades and scattered them all over our park. So people who are coming, they know what they are seeing. They know it's made of rubble. No, but now nobody remembers it's made of rubble. The second thing is the small rubble. We made those huge gabions. It's like 4-5 meter gabions. They are filled with rubble we found on the site, and they are like a background for the exhibition about the history, the history of rebuilding Warsaw and creating this mold, of course. And for us, the most important, the most interesting thing is reviving the rubble concrete technology. We wanted to create walls for the canyons out of it, and this is the process. The first photo shows the first sample. We weren't satisfied with it, and we worked with other specialists. And the last one is the thing we liked, and we designed. And this is the end result. The first photo shows how it was made, and the second two show the end result. We wanted to have this geological section impression, so everyone who comes can imagine what's this huge 38 high mountain is made of. And it has different properties we wanted. The first one, we could put those historical inlays in these walls. It's like a scavenger hunt for kids, because people walk around all the park and look for the names, look for the pieces of the old buildings. It's fun. It gives another dimension to the park. And another thing is, it's made in those layers. The concrete is not insulated, so the water seeps through it. That's why it's always humid. It always keeps humidity, so it helps to grow plants. We call this rubble bioreceptive rubble. because the plants can grow because of the humidity. There is a bit of a soil, the starting bit. Our friends from landscape design designed this process. We picked all the moss lying there. We mixed it with kefir and yogurt, and we sprayed it on the walls. This is the starting point to growing the moss, and it worked. This is the first generation of plants which will grow, and as you can see at the last photo, they are starting to go, taking over the walls. Of course, not all the walls gonna be green, but some of them they're gonna look natural. Working with park, you always have to think, in the public space, you always have to think about the process. And here the process was very important. We always think, what's gonna happen in 5, 10, 20 years? If it's gonna be better. It cannot be, we don't design the finished product, we design something that's gonna change. This is nature. And in this case, when we use bricks, we know that bricks are gonna peel off. With next winter, they're gonna peel more and more, and give place for another plants. The walls will grow, the walls will change. This is like a process we designed. And this brings us to the next topic. It's a fourth nature. It's a nature. I spoke about unorganic matter. Now we're going to talk about vegetation. Fourth nature is a concept. It's a theory made by a German botanist, Ingo Kowalik. It divides nature into 4 categories. The first one is the real nature you find in the forest, the real forests which are usually preserved. 2, second and the third natures are natures you find in park, for instance, or you find it in a field. And the fourth one, which we had, it's nature that spontaneously grows on brownfields. So usually we have it in the cities. It has very specific properties. It's very spontaneous, it's very robust, but it has poor biodiversity. And we had to work with that. As you can see, the first photo was 50 years ago, and the left photo is like 2 years ago. Now it looks like jungle. It appeared very spontaneously, very fast, and we have to work what we have. If we would design a park 50 years ago, we would cut all the trees because they were invasive. Those are the species that don't appear in our climate. They don't cooperate with our nature. But we decided, we're going to design a process to implementing our native species to take over our park. We made like those incisions of genetic species that they are good for our nature. And again, our aim was to create nature that looks the same, but you don't see the project. The left photo, the left photo is before our project, and the right photo is after the project. And I think we achieved our goal because the fourth nature has those qualities which we actually cherish in the cities. Because you can be also spontaneous. It's not like if you go to the park which is arranged very strictly, like a Baroque park or a Classicist park, you go to those places and you feel upright and you don't know how to act. But if you have natural parks like fourth nature, people are spontaneous, they do what they want and they feel free. Of course, we made certain strategies for people to feel safe. To feel safe and feel good, but that's maybe other topic. We employed very traditional techniques. We used the traditional techniques of making landscapes, for instance, making like those retaining wall, living retaining wall, and we used them in a new way. For instance, we made those wicker walls. They're going to dissolve, but we put living wicker in the first photo, as you can see in the first photo, and after the organic matter will rot down, the real wicker will grow, and the roots gonna support the slope. We had a huge problem with the water because the slopes are very steep, and the water was rushing down the slopes, taking all the soil, and nothing could grow on it. So we made those small fences. This is also a very traditional technique. Small fences that keep the water and start growing, start accumulating the soil, so we can enhance natural succession for the forest to be more biodiverse and more resilient to climate change. We are also thinking not only about the plants, but also about the animals. For animals, I don't know if you know, perimeter vegetations, these are the borders of, for instance, of the forest and the meadows. They are the most important for the animals because they travel with those corridors. We designed the different corridors with different perimeter for different animals. For instance, for ladybirds. I don't know, this is a not fun fact, but it's the fact that Asian ladybirds take over our country because they are more resilient, and we designed perimeters to help vegetation of native ladybirds. And the most important procedure we designed, it's like this it's the last photo, last drawing. It's a procedure of random planting different kind of plants. So unqualified workers can do most of the work. It helps the natural succession. It helps to introduce the randomness in your project, and that's why it looks more natural and brings more diversity to the project. And this is how it looks, again. It looks very natural. It took a lot of effort to look natural. And the last photo shows not always, we tried to build without cutting the trees. As you can see on this photo, it was very difficult because there were a lot of trees. But we always tried to make it accessible for the people on the wheelchair or with the wheelchair, with babies, for instance. It's important for us, architects, to take a little bit more effort than appreciate the trees and to design and leave as much as you can. Find your assets and work with that.
The last chapter, the meaning. Warsaw had a certain complex over Kraków, another former capital of Poland, and they always wanted to have a mold, but they never constructed this. And since the beginning of 20th century and maybe the end of 19th century, there were plans to commemorate certain important historical facts by raising a mold, but it never happened. During the communist time, it was impossible to talk openly about Warsaw Uprising for the political reason, but there were certain hidden strategies to talk about it. And here there was a proposal on the competition in '58 to redesign this mold, this landfill into the monument, but it hasn't been built. It happened in the 1994 when the former the veterans of Warsaw Uprising had the bottom-up initiative to commemorate the uprising by erecting this monument on the top of the landfill. And this is one of them who was an architect. He sketched this drawing. And what you can see here is the very precisely act of symbolical reclaiming the space. You can see the landfill with the serpentine way for the trucks that were bringing the rubble, and the monument at the top. By this simple gesture, he reclaimed the former landfill into a monument. It became a monument. It started to carry meaning, and people start to perceive it in a different way. So how the process started. But still, up to our project, the space was limited only to this monument on the top. And people perceive this area in generally inaccessible and dangerous. Later, in 2019, we won the competition, and we make this park we were talking about. So to make it more accessible and safe. It wouldn't be possible without all of the people listed here. For example, we believe in the broad cooperation. So when we talk this is the whole team here. Of course, landscape architects who are leading branch here, but also, for example, phytosociologist who designed the whole process of natural succession, or supporting the natural succession toward the climax biodiversity. Also the concrete technology and architectural historian who help us with the research on the history of debris concrete.
And that's it. Do you have any questions? Maybe.
Thank you very much for such an inspiring and profound lecture. And what I really like in your lecture is this emphasis on different natures of this project, which highlights this like holistic process, which is very important, especially in such a huge project. So thank you very much. And I guess we have time for one short question. Якщо ви маєте питання, будь ласка, підніміть руку. Ми маємо час на одне питання. Так, бачу чоловіка в блакитній футболці. Чи можна передати мікрофон? Чи маємо мікрофон для питань? Oh, yeah, дякую. Yeah, you can put it. Yeah, it's Ukrainian. Oh.
Доброго дня. Я перепрошую, можна трошечки більше на два питання. В який спосіб ви виконували навігацію в цьому величезному просторі? І друге запитання, чи використовували і в який спосіб світло? Дякую.
So maybe we'll start to answer the second question. The light is limited. We only, because the design aim not to only address the people, but also the nature. As we know, the light pollution is a problem in the cities, and as we have the certain, not too many, but certain species of small mammals. We have bats, we have hedgehogs, we have foxes and the boars, to surprise. We have limited the lamps, the street light, only to the main circulation. The side paths are not lighted in the night. So there are certain information that you shouldn't enter after the dawn.
In a theme of navigation, the main path of the whole park is the path that was transporting the rubble to the top of the mold, and we use it as a main road. We created also roads, and these are the very simple ways, and they give direction. They are easy to follow. Every other road is like less important. It's like a adventure, actually, because the park should be exciting. It's like a scavenger's hunt, as I said. In that theme, we also left some parts of the mold people cannot enter. We left them for the animals, non-human agents also, so the natural and vegetation can grow and with their own speed. And for us, it's like a checkpoint to see and control grounds to see what's going on with the nature. I think it's a good approach, and we made them the inaccessible parts are the slopes and the shelves, which you cannot enter. We didn't build the stairs, actually, only this. So they are not accessible.
Thank you.